I need you to sit up in your chair and I need you to understand something, is that the Democratic Party under Joe Biden and the centrists in power, I'm talking about your Hakeem Jeffries, your Nancy Pelosi's, your Chuck Schumer's, your Joe Biden especially, they do not want to win because they understand the stronger the Democratic Party is, the more likely it is that progressives get a majority and could start passing legislation that their donors don't like. I'll give you an example. Tax raises on the rich. A lot of the Democratic Party's donors are rich people. They don't want their taxes to go up. And those are the most influential people. A lot of the donor class are big supporters of Israel. That's why it doesn't matter that the vast majority of Americans want a ceasefire. The people that have the ear of Joe Biden, like Sabin, the guy from Power Rangers, he sends him a personal email about how he needs to support Israel or else. This is the situation that we're living in, is that when Citizens United came down and unlimited corporate cash was able to flow into our elections, the Democratic Party, which was already distorted by private money, became a disfigured wreck, riven with contradictions. Why was Joe Biden unpopular? Because he didn't pass his agenda. Build Back Better was blocked. And I know a lot of people like to cope with the IRA and they like to cope with the bipartisan infrastructure bill, but that shit was peanuts, folks. Now Biden is doubling the prices of solar panels by putting tariffs on the Chinese solar panels. China makes 90% of the solar panels in the world. So when you put 100% tariff on the solar panels, you're doubling solar panel prices for Americans. When he bans electric vehicles, 6 of the top 10 electric vehicles in the world are Chinese. How are we going to transition to a green future if we can't have solar panels? We can't have electric vehicles. Are we building high-speed rail crisscrossing the country? No, we can't even get a high-speed rail down the California coast. We have railway speeds slower than they did in the 1920s. And Joe Biden isn't proposing we do anything about any of that. So we have a war in Ukraine that is dragging on forever. We have a genocide in Gaza that we are the primary supporters of. We have warmongering and confrontation with China. And we have standard of living of Americans declining, life expectancy declining, housing affordability is at an all-time low in my life. I was born in 1984. It is the most unaffordable time to buy a house right now since 1984. That is the reality that we're facing. And price levels are much higher than they were when Joe Biden took office. He didn't raise the minimum wage, not $1. The last president to raise the minimum wage was George W. Bush, not Obama, George W. Bush. Cited into law in 2007. 2007. Where were you in 2007? He's got very little in the way of accomplishments. And we can go down the list if you really want. And I'm not saying there's nothing, but it's nearly nothing. And it's certainly nothing big enough to change the course of experience for millions of Americans. Is your life getting better? It's not. And for a lot of Americans, the super dole of 2020, the pandemic benefits was the most financially secure they were in their entire life. That wasn't Joe Biden. That was under Donald Trump. It was Donald Trump that stopped student loan payments. Joe Biden restarted them. And you could have a bunch of excuses for why that is, but that is the problem that we're facing, is the Democrats are not delivering on their promises. The Democrats are not making our lives better. The Democrats are putting us into quagmire after quagmire after quagmire. They're blowing hundreds of billions of dollars. And so how could you be surprised? He's the guy who says he wants a strong Republican Party. And it's just not optics for the cameras, man. He really believes it. He's got to go. And I don't want Donald Trump to be president. I know there's going to be terrible consequences. But the one thing I do know is that the Democratic Party, as it is now, is not fit for purpose. And I don't know what it's going to take. I really don't know what it is going to take for the people to wake up and throw away these scumbags like Barack Obama. I'm sorry, but at a certain point, he's got to go.